Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I am so excited as we close out our month long celebration. We have been celebrating every day the accomplishments, the unique brilliance, the ingenuity, and sheer genius of those persons of African American and African descent. Hi, I'm Marcus Holmes, the facilitator of the Love and Stuff community, and I want to welcome you to an evening of wonderful gifts and talents that will be displayed in honor and recognition of those that came before us who have paved the way for us to carry forward a great legacy. And whether you are joining us on Facebook Live from where we are springboarding tonight, or LinkedIn Live, or Twitch TV Live, or YouTube Events Live, you are here and we're thankful. Why don't you click share right now and drop in the comments that you are here and wherever you are from around the world. So I hope that you will join us in tonight's wonderful presentation. We opened with a little bit of technical difficulty with the Aeolians so that we can ensure that we had a great presentation of Lift Every Voice and Sing. That arrangement, of course, is by the one and only Roland M. Carter, Professor Carter, and we wanted to play the Aeolians version of that, and we may have to double back to that at some point during this time. Take a moment and click share. Thank you so much. I see that some folks are joining us and some folks have joined us to celebrate tonight. And so drop in the comments some of your favorite African-American heroes. Just drop down in the comments, maybe even one that you've heard along these other 27 days. That would be good. It might get you a chance to win something great. We love to give away prizes here in Love and Stuff, but we also love the opportunity to share new information and hopefully share inspiration as we tell the stories, some of them harrowing stories of different individuals who have endured great trouble and trial and tribulation. And because of them, we stand firmly and confidently on their shoulders. And so I hope that you will drop in the comments, who are some of your African American or African heroes? Drop the names of those persons in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And so we will get our evening begin. I just wanted to give you a welcome and thank you so much for being here with us this evening. It means the world to us as we're hearkening upon 4 years as a Love and Stuff platform. Happy anniversary almost to us. We're excited that you have joined us, and we're excited that if you've ever liked or shared or commented on any of the content or attended any of our events, we just want to say thank you and hope that you will continue to support us. If you haven't already, click follow on the Love and Stuff page to see what events are upcoming and to just keep abreast of the various things that are happening in the Love and Stuff community. It's a great community with extraordinary people, and we want you to be a part. And it's just as simple as clicking the follow button on the Love and Stuff page. So first up, we're going to have, and I thank you for joining those that come right on in, those that are coming. We're going to have a dramatization by one of the staples in our Love and Stuff community, who hails from the city of Detroit, but she is now living in Houston, Texas. And she is also pastoring there in Houston, Texas, in the Central Methodist Episcopal Church and denomination. And one of her favorite writers, who is one of our favorite writers as well. We learned a lot about her as a part of our presentation earlier this month. She is going to provide a dramatization of Zora Neale Hurston. Ladies and gentlemen, lots of hearts and thumbs up and whatever emoji that you can imagine for this outstanding performance by Valencia Etner on Zora Neale Hurston.
Good evening. I was born in Natagalla, Alabama in 1891. But let me tell you a secret. Few years after that, when I got ready to embark on my student's career, being a student in the East Coast, I changed my age. There's nothing wrong with changing your age a little bit. I didn't want to be around all those young people and not be a contemporary of theirs. So I lowered my age about 10 years so that I would meet their age requirement, which meant that meant that I was going to be 10 years younger than I said I was, which means I couldn't be born in Alabama. For by the time I was 6 years old, we were living in Eatonville, Florida. And so I became instantly a lifelong Floridian. My name is Zora Neale Hurston, and I know that you've read some of my books, or maybe you've been associated with some of my short stories, but I came to talk to you today because I find that people don't really know a lot about me, and they always assume that I feel some way about being, I know you all call it something else, but we called it colored. So I feel some way about being colored in America. Well, I don't feel any way about being colored. I grew up where colored was all I saw. But they made me feel like I needed to address it. So I'm going to share with you a little essay I wrote that just explains to them who I am and who I think and what I think of myself and what I hope as a person born of a color, a Negro, a colored person, a African American, a black person, whatever y'all call it today, that you will have some pride about who you are and where you come from. Because I certainly have no problem being colored me. The name of my essay is How It Feels to Be Colored Me. I am colored, but I offer nothing in the way of extenuating circumstances except the fact that I'm the only Negro in the United States whose grandfather on the mother's side was not an Indian chief. I remember the very day that I became colored. Up to my 13th birthday, I lived in the little Negro town of Eatonville, Florida. It's an exclusively colored town, and the only white people I knew passed through town going to or from Orlando. The native whites rode dusty horses, and northern tourists chugged down the sandy village road. What were they doing? In automobiles. The town knew that the Southerners never stopped chewing cane when they passed, but Northerners were something else. They were peered at cautiously behind curtains by the timid. The more venturesome would come out on the porch and watch them go past and got as much pleasure out of the tourists as the tourists got out of the village. The front porch might seem like a daring place for the rest of the town, but for me, it was a gallery seat. My favorite place was atop the gatepost, proscenium box for a born first nighter. Not only did I enjoy the show, but I didn't mind the actors knowing I liked it. I usually spoke to them in passing. I'd wave at them when they returned my salute. I would say something like this: "Howdy do? Well, I thank you. Where you going?" Usually, automobile or the horse paused at this, and after a queer exchange of compliments, I would probably go a piece of the way with them, as we say in farthest Florida. If one of my family happened to come to the front in time to see me, of course, negotiations would be rudely broken off. But even so, it is clear that I was the first welcome to our state Floridian, and I hope the Miami Chamber of Commerce will please take notice. During this period, white people differed from colored only to me in that they rolled through town and never lived there. They liked to hear me speak pieces and sing and wanted to see me dance the Pars Milan, gave me generously of their small silver for doing these things, which seemed strange to me, for I wanted to do them as much as they wanted me to do them, that I needed the bribing to stop, only they didn't know it. Colored people gave no dimes. They deplored any joyful tendencies in me, but I was their Zora nevertheless. I belonged to them, to the nearby hotels, to the county, everybody's Zora. But changes came in the family when I was 13 and I was sent to school in Jacksonville. I left Eatonville, the town of the Oleanders, a Zora. When I disembarked from the riverboat at Jacksonville, she was no more. It seemed that I had suffered a sea change. I was not Zora of Orange County anymore. I was now a little colored girl. I found it out in certain ways, and in my heart as well as in the mirror, I became fast brown. warranted not to rub or run. But I am not tragically colored. There is no great sorrow dammed up in my soul, no lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. I do not belong to the sobbing school of Negrohood that hold that nature somehow has given them a low down, dirty deal and whose feelings are all but about it. Even in the helter skelter skirmish that is my life, I have seen that the world is to the strong, regardless of a little pigmentation, more or less. No, I do not weep at the world. I am too busy sharpening my oyster knife. Someone is always at my elbow reminding me that I'm the granddaughter of slaves. It fails to register depression with me. Slavery is 60 years in the past. The operation was successful and the patient is doing well, thank you. The terrible struggle that made me an American out of a potential slave said, go on the line. The Reconstruction said, get set. And the generation before said, go. I am off to a flying start and I must not halt in the stretch to look behind and weep. Slavery is the price I paid for civilization, and the choice was not with me. It is a bully adventure and worth all that I have paid through my ancestors for it. No one on earth has ever had a greater chance for glory. The world to be won and nothing to be lost. It's thrilling to think, to know that for any act of mine, I shall get twice as much praise or twice as much blame. It's quite exciting to hold the center of the national stage with the spectators not knowing whether to laugh or to weep. The position of my white neighbors is much more difficult. No brown specter pulls up a chair beside me when I sit down to eat. No dark ghost thrusts its leg against mine in bed. The game of keeping what one has is never so exciting as the game of getting. I do not always feel colored. Even now, I often achieve the unconscious Zora of Eatonville before the Hegira. I most often feel colored when I'm thrown against a sharp white background. For instance, at Barnard, beside the waters of the Hudson, I feel my race. Among the 1,000 white persons, I am a dark rock surged upon and overswept, but through it all, I remain myself. When covered by the waters, I am, and the air but reveals me again. Sometimes it's the other way around. A white person is set down in our midst, but the contrast is just as sharp for me. For instance, when I sit in the drafty basement that is the New World Cabaret with a white person, my color comes. We enter chatting about any little thing that we have in common and are seated by the jazz waiters. In the abrupt way that jazz orchestras have, this one plunges into a number. It loses no time in its circumlocutions, but gets right down to business. It constricts the thorax and splits the heart with its tempo and narcotic harmonies. This orchestra grows rambunctious, rears on its hind legs, and attacks the tonal veil with primitive fury, rending it, clawing it, until it breaks through to the jungle beyond. I follow those heathen. I follow them exultingly. I dance wildly inside myself. I yell within. I whoop. I shake my assegai above my head. I hurl it true to the mark. Yeah, I'm in the jungle and living in the jungle way. My face is painted red and yellow and my body is painted blue. My pulse is throbbing. Like a war drum. I want to slaughter something. Give pain, give death to what I do not know. But the piece ends. The men of the orchestra wipe their lips and rest their fingers. I creep back slowly to the veneer we call civilization with the last tone and find the white friend sitting motionlessly in his seat, smoking calmly. Good music they have here, he remarks, drumming the table with his fingertips. Music. The great blob of purple and red emotions have not touched him. He has only heard what I have felt. He is far away and I see him but dimly across the ocean and the continent that have fallen between us. He is so pale. with his whiteness. And then I am so colored. At certain times, I have no race. I am me. When I set my hat at a certain angle and saunter down 7th Avenue, Harlem City, feeling as snooty as the lions on the front of the 42nd Street Library, for instance. So far as my feelings are concerned, Peggy Hopkins Joyce on the Boule Miche with her gorgeous raiment, stately carriage, knees knocking together in a most aristocratic manner, has nothing on me. The cosmic Zora emerges. I belong to no race and time. I am the eternal feminine with its string of beads. I have no separate feeling about being an American citizen and colored. I am merely a fragment of the great soul that surges within its boundaries, my country, right or wrong. Sometimes I feel discriminated against, but it does not make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How can any deny themselves the pleasure of my company? It's beyond me. But in the main, I feel like a brown bag of miscellany propped against a wall in company with other bags, white, red, and yellow. Pour out the contents, and there is discovered a jumble of small things, priceless and worthless. A first water diamond, an empty spool, a bit of broken glass, lengths of string, a key to a door long since crumbled away, a rusty knife blade, old shoes saved for a road that never was and never will be. A nail bent out against the weight of things too heavy for any nail. A dried flower or two, still a little fragrant. In your hand is the brown bag. On the ground before you is the jumble it held. So much like the jumble in the bags, could they be emptied, that they all might be dumped in a single heap, and the bags refilled without altering the content of any greatly. A bit of colored glass, or more or less, would not matter. Perhaps that's how the great stuffer of bags filled them in the first place. Who knows? Good to see you, spend some time with you. My name is Zora Neale Hurston.
Keep your hand on that plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Noah, Noah, let me come in. Doors are fastened and the windows been. Keep your hand on that plow and hold on. Hold on.
Noah said you done lost your track. Can't plow straight and keep looking back. Keep your hand on that plow and hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow and hold on.
Hold on.
What a beautiful arrangement of Hold On. Come on, give me likes and hearts and whatever emoji that can express how you think about hearing this beautiful arrangement by Carolyn Tribune Brewer of Hold On. Thank you, Carolyn Tribune Brewer, for supplying such fantastic music and a great arrangement of that song. She is an accomplished pianist who is living out east right now, but she is from Florida. So shout out to Floridians for birthing such great talent. But we certainly appreciate that wonderful, wonderful rendition. Another round of applause, finger snaps wherever you are at home. One of our sponsors that we will now go to his commercial. If you are looking for flooring, this man does an amazing job. He is a photographer and he is also a master carpenter as it relates to flooring. Watch this commercial. Hold on here. Hello. Nikki Giovanni was born Yolanda Cornelia Giovanni Jr., Knoxville, Tennessee, June 1943. She was the second, she was the youngest of two daughters and gained an intense appreciation for African American culture and heritage from her grandmother. She graduated with honors from University, which was her father's alma mater. She was a prolific, or is a prolific writer and teacher of poetry and stories, and she has several volumes of nonfiction, which includes Racism 101, which showcases her experiences during the civil rights movement. Some of her many honors is she was a fellowship, national, the National Award for Dedication and Commitment and Service, the NAACP 7 NAACP Image Awards for Literature. She is one Legends. She's an honorary Delta Sigma Theta, despite one Ebony Woman of the Year. And has been a professor at Virginia Tech University, and in 1999, she was given the title Distinguished Professor, which is the highest honor given university faculty member. Frustration for housing and led race riots in Los Angeles, 1965, and led to at least 125 other uprisings in different cities, including Cleveland, Chicago, Atlanta. Cities including Newark, New Jersey, the site of one of the worst race riots. Giovanni references briefly in line 27 of her poem, Ego Tripping, as in with new art. The rage present during the race riots evolved into a demand for Black power, which meant different things to many Blacks. Some saw Black power as a necessary violent response to injustice, but others envisioned the move as a way to embrace racial self-reliance and dignity and racial pride. Giovanni's early poetry reflected the more militant side of Black power.
But in her poem, Ego Tripping, she moves more solidly into the non-violent approach of Black power. Pride as the primary theme, Giovanni sees a natural link between being a woman, being Black, and having pride in all aspects of life. Her poem, Ego Tripping, presents a strong feminine speaker who is not afraid to say, I'm a beautiful woman and I am one who can save. Nikki Giovanni's first trip to Africa was in 1972, and so it's no coincidence that this poem was published at that same time. Many of the great African and ancient civilizations, such as Egyptians and the Carthaginians, Ethiopians, contributed to the latter glories of Greek and Rome and Norman life. And in these civilizations, our modern life was born. Giovanni aligns herself with these beginnings and the possibilities they offer in Ego Tripping as she celebrates being Black and female. For Giovanni, being Black and female are never separated. The complete title of her poem is Ego Tripping. There may be a reason why. The content of the poem proves that there is a reason for the goddess to have so great an ego that she may trip over it. She is the pinnacle of feminine strength, power, wisdom, and achievement. And this poem celebrates all that women can and have achieved. It starts, I was born in the Congo. I walked the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only grows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine, perfect light. I am bad. I sat on the throne with Allah. I got hot and sent an ice age to Europe. Cool my thirst. My oldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my childbirth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned the Sahara Desert. With a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes, I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle, so swift, you can't catch me. For a birthday present when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant, and he gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built a new ark, and I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a soft summer day. I turned myself into myself, and I was Jesus. Men atone my loving name. All praises, all praises. I am the one who would save. I sow diamonds in my backyard. My bowels deliver uranium. The filings from my fingernails are precious, semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip, even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east. I had to round off the earth as I went. The hair from my head thinned, and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird. I can fly like a bird in the sky. Beautiful words from Monty. And just so we can top off some of the images in this poem, we'll take a look. Images of herself in stanza 1 as a female god, and she takes credit for the creation of the pyramids, exposure of the stars. In stanza 2, she shows that she is the mother of Nefertiti. Nefertiti's name means beautiful, perfect woman. And then she's also Allah. She is a queen, a goddess. You see her drinking the nectar with the god Allah. Her tears are what created the Nile. The Nile River is 4,000 miles long and it sustained life in early Egypt. She says, I am a beautiful woman. It reinforces the image of the ever supremely confident, proud woman as she is. We see in stanza 3 that she says she created the Sahara Desert, which is the largest in the world, which is in keeping with her theme of creating the Nile, which is the largest river in the world. 3,000 miles it stretches east to west, and the poet says she crossed it in 2 hours. It takes a plane to cross it in 2 hours, but she says from her own might, she was able to have the strength and the fortitude to cross the Sahara Desert in 2 hours. In stanza 4, she says, I am the mother of Hannibal, the great, who controlled Roman, the great warrior. Hannibal is known for his strength, and her strength continues on. In stanza 5, she talks about the 2 men who saved the world, Noah, who preserved mankind with the flood, and of course, Jesus. She claims the Old Testament with Noah, and she claims the New Testament with Jesus, and claiming to be Jesus as both God and goddess. She makes as woman, men praise her name. All praises for the goddess, the one who saves. In stanza 7, we see she says, there are no mistakes. Her cold, her illness gave rise to oil. She claims to have made the earth round while she was traveling it. Stanza 8, she shows the flawlessness of her beauty. She cannot be undenied and she cannot be understood unless she gives you the key to wisdom. She is all that one deserves. Her ego is her ego what is deserving because she is a beautiful Black woman envisioned by Nikki Giovanni, one in which to give pride to all women, both in the past, the present, and the future. Thank you.
Let me dig this jive once more, boy. Right on down to the gate. Oh, boy. Gotta dig now can't you hear those hepcats call? Come on, boys, let's have a ball. The jim jam jump it, the jumping jive makes you dig your jive on the mellow side. Hep, hep. Hip, hip. The jim jam jump is a solid jive. Makes you 9 foot tall when you're 4'5". Hep, hep. Hip, hip. Now don't you be that icaroo, get hip, come on, and then you follow through. You get your study full, you make up the jaunty jump like the gators do. Jim jam jump is a jumping jive, makes you like your eggs on the Jersey side. Hip hip, hip hip, the jim jam jumping jive makes you hep hep on the Mahala side. Boodly 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 biddly bumpity goodly giddly bang 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 da da. Now I've told you about the jumping jive. Jim jam jump the jumping jive. You got to dig this mellow jive. Yes, yes, you dig it on the mellow side. A boodly 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 boy. Boodly boodly boy. Biddly biddly gay. Boodly giddly bumpity gaga. A boodly jive boy. Going to ga gang the bomb bomb. See the lad the boy.
Bravo, not only to Cab Calloway and the Nicholas brothers for their rousing performance of Black excellence in singing and in tap dance, but bravo to Valerie Colbert Osamwani, who I did not get to introduce before she came on camera, who did an excellent job with Nikki Giovanni. Come on, hearts and emojis and thumbs up for both of those presentations. They were excellent. And thank you again, Valerie. And thank you so much for all that you have done in the Love and Stuff community. We appreciate you. And normally this next gentleman is behind the scenes. You might not get to see him as often in front of the scenes. He is one of the first associate producers of the Love and Stuff community. And he always says the Love and Stuff, Marcus Holmes featuring the Love and Stuff community, but it is the Love and Stuff community. And he has been with us from basically day one. And he is going to share with you some insights on Casey Jones. Welcome our associate producer, Kamal Williams. And you're on mute, I think, Kamal. You're on mute. If at the bottom of your screen, you might need to hit the mic button of your frame. No business like show business. And so while Kamal is finding that unmute because we want to hear from him, I want you just to drop in the comments. I think I saw earlier where Eric Sanders said his hero is Dr. Everett Jennings Sr. Drop in the comments, who are your African-American heroes? Who is the person that has made a mark on history or on your life or your world that stands out to you the most? Come on, drop those in the comments right now. All right. Okay, we'll give him a second too. Yes, we'll give him a second. As you're dropping those in the comments, we've done 28 days of different parts of African-American history. Heroes include she-roles. Yes, Sister Valencia Edner, absolutely. Heroes and she-roles. Heroes come in the she-role form, they do. And all month long, we have looked at heroes and she-roles of the African-American diaspora and African descent. And we've also looked at writings, and we've looked at buildings, and we've looked at different aspects of Black history. And it was a wonderful journey all month long. Each night at 7:00 p.m., we tried to bring a different fact or something forward. I hear your voice now.
Perfect. I had to go into the settings and do a little changes.
So each time, Bilal saying Muhammad Ali. Somebody else drop some in the comments. Somebody else drop some folks in the comments who were your heroes or she-roles. We talked about Hank Aaron earlier this month, Cicely Tyson, so many others, and the list goes on and on and on. We really couldn't do it in 28 days. Bilal says Langston Hughes, absolutely. We read a little bit of him and did a little bit of the Harlem Renaissance, some of the people who contributed in that time, and we didn't even fully cover that. We tried to cover some jazz greats. We tried to cover a little bit of blues, but there is so much for African Americans and the world to know and be proud of, that are African American centered contributions and unique, and I want to say amazing ingenuity that has been given to our world and to our culture. And as you know, there are many people who love our culture, and they might appropriate many things about our culture. And that tells you something about our culture, that people really see the value in it, even though sometimes they may not overtly show that in some ways. And so keep dropping those names of your heroes and she-roles in the comments. And again, I introduce our associate producer, who's normally behind the scenes, and look at him with the tie on. He's looking so good today. He is from Detroit, but he is transplanted to North Richland Hills, Texas. Welcome, Kamal Williams. Take it away, Kamal.
Thank you for the gracious welcoming. And Thank you for the patience during technical difficulties. And hello, everyone, and happy Black History Month as we come to a great end to this great month. I want to highlight Casey Jones. Casey Jones was a basketball player and often a nemesis of ours as Detroit Pistons fans. But I got to know him a little bit differently, not directly, but through his daughter, who's a coworker of mine, as I work with Delta Airlines, and I got to meet Casey Jones Jr. And they're great people. And I would tell his daughter Holly all the time, "You guys are the bravest people I know." African American people living in Boston during that time, where there's so much strife going on between the different communities. And she had a few stories to tell. But I do want to highlight this young man right now, Casey Jones, born May 25th, 1932, and passed on December 25th, 2020, was an American professional basketball player and coach. He is best known for his association with the Boston Celtics of the National Basketball Association, with whom he won 11 of his 12 NBA championships. 8 as a player, 1 as an assistant coach, and 2 as a head coach. As a player, he is tied for third for most NBA championships in a career, and he is one of 3 NBA players with an 8-0 record in NBA Finals series. He is the only African American coach other than Bill Russell to have won multiple NBA championships. Jones was inducted to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 1989. Jones played college basketball at the University of San Francisco, and along with Bill Russell, guided the Dons to NCAA championships in 1955 and 1956. During their time with the Dons, Russell and Jones led the team to a then record 55-game win streak, including an undefeated 29-0 record in the 1955-56 season, and helped pioneer a play later became known as the alley-oop. Jones also played with Russell in the United States national team, which won the gold medal at the 1956 Olympic Games in Melbourne, Australia, while defeating their opponents by an unsurpassed average margin of 53.5 points per game, which is better than the Dream Team. Jones is only one of 8 players in basketball history to have won an NCAA championship, an NBA championship, and Olympic gold medal, joining Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Jerry Lucas, Clyde Leverett, Quinn Buckner, and Anthony Davis. In NBA history, only his former teammates Russell, 11 championships, Sam Jones, 10 champions, have won more championships during their playing career. In 1983, Jones took over as head coach of the Boston Celtics, replacing Bill Fitch. Jones guided the Larry Bird-led Celtics to championships in 1984-86. Also, Jones led the Eastern squad to the 1986 NBA All-Star Game in Dallas at the Reunion Arena, leading the Western squad 139-132. The Celtics won the Atlantic Division in all 5 of Jones' seasons as head coach and reached the NBA Finals in 4 or 5 years as a coach. In a surprise announcement, he retired after the 1987-88 season and was succeeded by assistant coach Jimmy Rogers. Jones spent 1 season in the Celtics front office in 1988-89, then resigned to join the Seattle Supersonics as an assistant coach and basketball consultant for the 1989-90 season. He served as head coach for the Sonics in 1990 and 91 and 91-92. Member of the first All-American starting 5 in history in any sport, Boston coach by Red Auerbach, Bill Russell, Willie Knowles, Tom Sanders, Casey Jones, and Sam Jones. On a more personal note from Holly, I remember being 14-year-old flying to LA with Dad to play and beat the butts of the Lakers at the Forum, then flying home to Boston to watch them win the finals. The fans swarmed the parquet. That night, the city was so out of control, we had to sit in the back seat and smuggle Dad out of the garden in an unmarked car, covering him with his suit jacket as he lay across our laps. The fans knew his other car. I remember riding on the float through downtown Boston celebrating winning the 1984 championship. Felt kind of awkward I'm not on the team. I played basketball at Wesley High School, position small forward and power forward. He picked me up from practice. The sounds of basketball was echoing in the gym. All of a sudden, I'm startled when all the girls started shrieking. Oh, Dad just walked in. Moved me every couple of years as a kid with Dad's coaching jobs. Los Angeles Lakers, Columbia, Maryland Bullets, Andover and Wesley Celtics. I was a very hyperactive kid. Somehow I would get around Dad lying quietly on the couch at home and fall asleep. The 2 of us were notorious for napping anywhere. Couches, floors, picnic baskets. A whole page in the family reunion dedicated to pics of us unconscious. Fast forward to 2016, attending NBA Finals in Cleveland, where the Cleveland played Golden State Warriors with my brother KC to accept the Chuck Daly Lifetime Achievement Award from the NBA. Dad was too ill at this point to attend. It was a wild ride. Still a wild ride when your name's Jones and from Boston. I'm very glad and honored to be able to mention this young man today. People talk about championships and who's the greatest and who's won the most. And for some reason, these gentlemen's names don't come up as often as they should. And for the greats that they had of playing in a city like Boston, where we haven't always been accepted unless we played on teams like the Boston Red Sox or the Patriots or the Celtics, and even the Boston Bruins, the first person black man ever play in the NHL, play for the Boston Bruins, and his name is Willie O'Ree. I had the pleasure of meeting that young man before he passed on, and he had a lot of great stories as well. I got to meet him at a signing place where you got to come in and pay and get an autograph and all that fun stuff. And he was a great guy. And so we are, as African Americans, are very prominent within this country, and it's our job to make sure we highlight ourselves, even when those don't want to do it, like the people who are opting out in some states of African American history. So if that's what they want to do, that's fine. We just have to make sure that we, as our people, continue to make sure we know who we are and tell it to our children and to everyone coming up behind us, so we know who we are and what we've done in this country. And I'd like to turn things back over to Mr. Marcus.
Thanks, Kamal, so much. I appreciate you for coming and sharing. And we learned something today about Casey Jones. So thank you so much. All right. Round of applause for our associate producer, Kamal Williams. Thank you so much. This next gentleman that's coming to bring you oration and parts of African American history has been with us during this 28-day journey, and he's presented on some of the evenings with some extraordinary presentations and facts about African American history and the African aspect of our heritage. And so I'm very pleased and proud to present to you also a homeboy from Detroit, Michigan, but he is transplanted to Oklahoma. We lent him out there. We lent Valencia out there. We lend out people, as you see. But greatness, I'm sorry, it's just Detroit just has some greatness. I know wherever you are around the world, you want to move here right now. I understand. It's a great place. And so there are some great people that have come from this great place. And here is one of them, Reverend Darren Williams.
Good evening, everybody. And it's wonderful to be on Love and Stuff always, and to be able to share and to benefit from and to get to enjoy all of the history and the love and stuff that is always presented on here. This time with us tonight, well, let me say this before I get there. This is calendar-wise, 28th of February, the last day of Black History Month. But for several years now, many have talked about and understood that Black history cannot be compartmentalized and comprised and compacted into 28 days. And so slogans like Black History 365 and Black History all year long, and it begins on January 1st, ends on December 31st. And so I have decided, especially since listening to so many people this year, that for me, Black History Month is all year long, literally. And so tomorrow is going to be another start of Black History Month for me. And so all year long, I'm going to be acknowledging and celebrating our history, our people, and talking about it on every media platform that I actually have and that I contact people on. For me tonight, three things actually, original to poems I want to read for us. And then one I want to read that has been made famous by one of us, and I'll talk more about it when I get to it. The first poem that I want to recite for us, I wrote, I think 2014 is the year. I was in Detroit that summer, and it was during the baseball season, opening season. And every year in April, there is a commemoration of the Negro baseball leagues in Detroit. And so my brother and I went to the game. My nephew went to the game. But later on in the week while I was there was actually a spoken word, which I'd never participated in before, but I wanted to do that. And in honor of the Negro Leagues, I wrote this poem. It's called We Played Baseball. We were in it from the beginning. When we learned it, we played baseball. We didn't create it nor invent it, but we mastered it. And then came the call. Come on, Jackie Robinson. Come on, Satchel Paige. Come on, Willie Mays. Come on, all the best of y'all. But when the majors opened up, the Negro Leagues took the fall. It's tragic you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't read. You're stuck in a stall. We had our own baseball league, our own basketball league, our own banks and schools and churches and land. We had our own priests, our own prophets, our own kings. We had it all. Go learn who you are, who we were. So when you stand among other people, you can stand tall. That's my poem in honor of the Negro Leagues. We played baseball, and coincidentally, consequently, this year, 2020, marks the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues baseball. This is a special year. I'm sorry, last year marked the 100th year of the Negro Leagues. And let me recommend Kansas City on 18th and Vine. You can visit the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and the Jazz Museum. Both there. The buildings are connected on 18th and Vine in Kansas City, Kansas. All right, the second poem that I am reciting, I wrote when I was in college. I was probably in my sophomore year of college. Everybody around me called me a radical then. And so this poem was long before Colin Kaepernick did his protest against the flag, and long before we realized what the third verse of the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem actually said. I did this poem as I looked at our nation and the flag that represented us and how we as African Americans have been treated, that all of our oppression, our subjugation, that all of the racism and discrimination that's been against us, that all of the murder of African American peoples genocidally, and all of the negative things that had happened to us in America has happened under the waving of the United States flag. And so as a pun to the Pledge of Allegiance, I wrote this poem called A Submission of Grievance. And it goes, I submit a grievance against the flag and the United States of America. This republic, I just don't understand. One nation away from God and some individuals without liberty or justice at all. And the third piece, original piece, my own. This was written, I believe, this was 2015. I was in the Philippines, Iloilo City Airport, on my way back to the United States. This was during Resurrection season, Easter, as most of you call it. And I was listening to a song, the music I was listening to, getting ready for the Easter season. We're in Holy Week, and John P. Key's song, He's the Greatest, was one of the songs that I was listening to. So inspired, so hyped up on this song, and thinking about the story that John P. Key is telling about Jesus Christ and his work, how efficacious his work was for us. I titled it after John P. Key's song, but of course, all of the words here, this poem is my own brainchild, my idea. And so the poem titled, He's the Greatest. And since we are in the Lenten season now, I think it is fitting, at least for those of us who do subscribe to faith in Jesus Christ and are believers and children of God, then this for our consideration. He's the greatest. At the city dump on the outskirts of town, he was hung on a cross. He could, but wouldn't come down. Creation itself reacted to this unjust thing. Darkened sun, blood moon, earth quaking, and rightly so, since he was king. He lived, he loved, he helped, he healed. Why would any want him killed? They called him a friend of sinners because he rejected none. To the least, the last, the lost, he said, come. My Father has sent me. I am the one. He submitted himself to his captors. He decided to die. On the ground beneath, he heard his mother cry. Before the gazing, helpless heavenly host, and the cheering, chanting, enemies boast, he shouted, dropped his head, and gave up the ghost. Eerie and strange were the next 3 days. His friends, disappointed, returned to their ways. But God wasn't done. He hadn't shown his best. One more victory, one more test. The keys to death, hell, and the grave to rest. Quietly, very early before anyone knew, God was working as only God can do. By the power of the Spirit, Jesus was raised from the dead, from rest. First the angel, then the women announced the latest. Once dead, now alive forever. Jesus is the greatest. Amen. That's my resurrection theme poem that I have submitted. Again, somewhere around 2015 is when I wrote that one. And I have not been keeping track of my time. And so I'm not exactly sure where I am because this next poem is a little lengthy. Let me start on it and I'll amend myself as I need to. This poem, called The Negro's Complaint, Dr. King actually made one of the lines of the poem famous as he quoted it in one of his speeches. The line says, fleecy locks and black complexion cannot forfeit nature's claim. Skins may differ, but affection dwells in white and black the same. And this poem, again called The Negro's Complaint, was written by William Cowper, who is actually not African American. He is a British man, not known necessarily whether he was a slave owner or not. However, he writes this poem, which is from the perspective of an enslaved person, and it is calling into question the British and the Europeans' way that they have treated and are treating African Americans during the slave trade. This poem is actually written during the time of enslavement, again, written by a white man from the perspective of an enslaved African. And let me just do it. The Negro's Complaint. Forced from home and all its pleasures, Africa's coast, I left forlorn to increase a stranger's treasures, or the raging billows born. Men from England bought and sold me, paid my price in paltry gold. but through theirs they have enrolled me. Minds are never to be sold. Still in thought, as free as ever, what are England's rights, I ask? Me from my delights to sever, me to torture, me to task. Fleecy locks and black complexion cannot forfeit nature's claim. Skins may differ, but affection dwells in white and black the same. Why did all creating nature make the plant for which we toil? Sighs must fan it, tears must water, sweat of ours must dress the soil. Think ye masters iron-hearted, lollying at your jovial boards? Think how many backs have smarted for the sweets your cane affords. Is there, as ye sometimes tell us, is there one who reigns on high? Have he bid you buy and sell us, speaking from his throne the sky? Ask him if your knotted scourges, matches, blood extorting screws are the means which duty urges, agents of his will to use. Hark, he answers, wild tornadoes, strewing yonder sea with wrecks, wasting towns, plantations, meadows, are the voice which he speaks. He foreseeing what vexations Africa's sons should undergo, fix their tyrants' habitations, where his whirlwinds answer no. By our blood in Africa's wasted, ere our necks receive pain, by the miseries that we tasted, crossing in your barks the main, by our sufferings, since ye brought us to the man degrading mart, all sustained by patience taught us only but a broken heart. Deem our nation brutes no longer, till some reason ye shall find worthier of repayed and stronger than the color of our kind. Slaves of gold, whose sordid dealings tarnish all your boasted powers, prove that you have human feelings, ere you proudly question ours. That's the Negro's Complaint by William Cowper. And I believe that that's my time. I hope you've appreciated those poems, the original ones that I wrote, the first three, and even the last one by William Cowper, and have found something worthy of our celebration of Black history this year in these things that I've presented to us on tonight. Again, let me tell us, Black History 365. And for me, all year, this is Black History Year for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Darren Williams. Round of applause for him. Hearts, likes, whatever emoji that suits your case. Thank you so much, Reverend Darren Williams, for those beautiful poems. And he has some t-shirts that he didn't show that we're going to have him have an opportunity to show that he has for sale. And I wonder, Reverend Darren Williams, if those poems are for sale as well or are available if people want to get copies of those. Please let us know. Okay, you got a shirt that you can hold up and show us? Ah, okay, okay. Oh, I love it. Wonderful. Okay, and so they can reach you here on Facebook to make purchase of those. They can reach you. Is there anywhere else that they can go to reach you to make purchase? Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. And thank you again, Darren Williams. Oh, you couldn't hear him? Some people were saying they couldn't hear him. Okay. We'll have to double back to make sure you have the information, but you can follow Darren Williams here on Facebook if you want to get any of the product or merchandise that you saw today. All right. And so next we have another dramatization from, again, a staple in our
Thank you, Marcus, for that introduction. We will not so much as be doing a dramatization of Sarah Vaughan and another jazz singer, but to highlight their accomplishments, who they were, how important they were to the landscape that is the jazz history of our African American culture. As we know, jazz is indigenous to us as a people. And so while there are several women that were wonderful examples of being jazz singers, tonight we just want to talk about, firstly, Sarah Vaughan. Sarah Vaughan, a singer who brought an operatic splendor to her performances of popular standards in jazz in a career that spanned almost 50 years. She was born in Newark, New Jersey on March 27, 1924. Her father was a carpenter and an amateur guitarist, and her mother a laundress and a church vocalist. She studied the piano from age 7 and later took up the organ. And at age 12, she became the organist at the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Newark, where she was also a soloist in the choir. Throughout her career, she was affectionately known as Sissy, or the Divine Sarah. John Wilson, in a New York Times review of Vaughan's performance in 1957, credited the singer with what may well be the finest voice ever applied to jazz. She also enjoyed performing popular tunes at parties, and when friends urged her to enter the amateur contest at the Apollo Theater in New York, she took that dare and won first prize in October 1942, singing Body and Soul. Well, she was recognized by Billy Eckstine, who heard her performance. And 6 months later, she began, at his recommendation, to sing with Earl Hines' big band, which Mr. Eckstine was a part of. Eventually, she left and went with Mr. Eckstine's band. But while she was with Earl Hines' band, she sang with the likes of Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. She had her first hit in 1947 with the song Tenderly. Two of her biggest successes, Make Yourself Comfortable in 1954 and Whatever Lola Wants in 1955, were songs of seduction, which helped to give her that nickname of being sassy and divine. After 1959, Miss Vaughan would never have any commercially significant pop hits, or jazz hits. But over the next 30 years, her reputation and consummate vocal artistry soared steadily, thanks to her appearance in the nightclubs, at jazz festivals, and increasingly with symphony orchestras in the United States and abroad. The singer's later recordings ranged from an album of the Beatles tunes to a collection of Brazilian pop songs, which was produced by Quincy Jones. On the CBS classical crossover recording of South Pacific, she sang the role of Bloody Mary, and she was in Back on the Block. She sang, and Ella Fitzgerald sang together on a version of Birdland. In 1982, she won a Grammy for Best Jazz Vocal Performance. She started singing in the 40s, but did not win that Grammy until 1982. Though Miss Vaughn's repertoire during her career in the 1980s was vast, she would always perform two songs. Let's go back to Miss Vaughn. We've got one more picture of her we want to show in her later years. She would always perform Misty and then Send in the Clowns, which became her musical signature. Keep going back. We missed her back behind that one, during the last decade of her life. Living up to her sassy name, that's the one. The singer liked to perform Misty as a duet with herself, singing the first half in her regular voice and then dipping to the bottom of her contralto to do an amusing imitation of a seductive male lounge singer. Send in the Clowns, the song that usually closed her shows, was always a showstopper. After an amazing career, Sarah Vaughan died of lung cancer on Tuesday in 1994 at her home in Los Angeles. She was 66 years old. She is survived by her daughter, Deborah Vaughan, who uses the name Paris for her acting career. And you've seen her in multiple television series, including the Laker Girls movie, The Fresh Prince, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We salute the artistry of Sarah Vaughan in this African American History Month. And as Reverend Darren just said, in this year, this 365 days of celebrating our heritage. And we want you to know that her music is timeless. And if you're not familiar with her, why don't you go and listen? But until you can go do that, we are so excited that Ursula Merritt Bird will sing a tribute to Miss Sarah Vaughan.
Misty, sang by Sarah Vaughan. Look at me, I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree, and I feel like I'm clinging to a cloud I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way and 1,000 violins begin to play, or it might be the sound of your hello. The music I hear, I get misty the moment you're near. Can you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you on my own. When I wander through this wonderland alone, never knowing my right foot from a left, my hat from my glove. I'm too misty and too much in love. We're too misty and too much in love.
Thank you so much, Ursula Merritt Bird, for reminding us of the wonderful expression and interpretation of Sarah Vaughan and of Ursula Merritt Bird. We thank you so much. Our second jazz tribute is to one who was one of my personal persons to emulate. And I remember standing in front of the mirror singing her songs with a brush in my hand because she was such a favorite of my family. And so we heard her all the time. And that is none other than the illustrious, the divine one, known as the baby in that era, Miss Nancy Wilson. In her early years when she was performing, she was among the contemporary music's most stylish and sultry vocalists, often crossing the pop and R&B markets, and even hosting, which was an unusual thing then. Nat King Cole did it as a male, but Nancy Wilson had her own variety shows, especially during holidays. And she remained known as a wonderful jazz performer, renowned for her work alongside figures like Cannonball Adderley and George Shearing. She was born February 20th, 1937 in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I apologize if there's a colloquial pronunciation of that and I missed it. She first attracted notice she was first noticed performing in the club circuit near Columbus, Ohio, and quickly grew a reputation among jazz players and fans. She had her own style, and it seemed that style caught on very quickly. So she went on many performances with George Shearing, who was absolutely one of the most famous band leaders at that time. And she was then able to record with them, cementing her growing fame and reputation. She would move in and out of jazz. She would sing jazz, and then she would also sing pop and R&B. And if you listen to any of her recordings, she would sing a popular song sung by someone else, and would so reconfigure it, so reshape it that she made it her own. And then she'd always return to her jazz roots in any recording. She sang with some of everyone, including the great Sarah Vaughan and Nat King Cole and Ruth Brown and Laverne Baker. She, the Nancy Wilson Show, yes, was her variety show. She sang all the way through, starting in the 50s, and then because she was quite young when she began. And then in the 80s, she returned to music with a vengeance. That was after she had, in the late 80s, after she had her children. And I'll talk about that in a second. She returned with a vengeance and just started churning out albums, two of which we will talk about in a moment. In 1990, she was the favorite among the new adult contemporary market. Her style ideally suited for the format of lush ballads and romantic songs. And she was able to continue to host as well any venue on radio and on television. In the 80s and 90s, as she continued to record, she also moved into acting more. Many of you will remember her as Denise's husband's mother on The Cosby Show, and recorded two of my favorite projects, Forbidden Lover and Love Nancy. In the 2000s, she recorded with Ramsey Lewis, and she continued to record and do duets with several people. And as she did that, she continued to make a name for herself, even as she was getting up in age. That voice never missed a beat. Unfortunately, she got ill in the early 2000 teens, so about 2013, 14, she got really ill. And then on December 13th, 2018, at the age of 81, after a very long illness, she passed away. She went in she transitioned to that wonderful place where all of the singers seemingly from that era have gone. One of the things about Miss Wilson that many people do not know is that she was married to the Reverend Wiley Burton for 35 years, which accounts for why it seemed in the 70s she seemed to disappear from the supper club venues, because she wanted to honor his commitment and his calling by not making him have to make those kinds of decisions. She chose to come out of those venues and to continue to record, continue to perform in concerts, but not in venues that would go against the grain of his calling and theirs together as the first lady of a Presbyterian church. But she continued to sing and then began to include songs of faith in many of her recordings. In 1994, her Love Nancy project featured a song at the end of the album called Your Arms of Love, written by Benjamin, Detroit's own Benjamin B.B. Winans. We want to thank Miss Wilson for a legacy of musical excellence, of amazing class. I know we had some pictures of her. I certainly wish we could at least show that last one so we could show all of the beauty of Nancy Wilson. And so that we can leave you today as we prepare to come to the end of this presentation with a song that B.B. Winans wrote called Your Arms of Love. It is fitting that as we are the Love and Stuff community, to share this song with you on this evening, Your Arms of Love. If you will, and if you can, dismiss the facts and the reprimands, and please hold me in your arms, your arms of love. You know the truth, and I've been taught the way. I don't have a right to come and say, please hold me in your arms of love. Your arms of love relieve the pain. Your arms of love I need once again. So if you will, Lord, if you can, look past my faults and take hold my hand, and please hold me in your arms of love, relieve the pain. Your arms of love I need once again. I know he will, and right now I know he can. See, he knows the facts, but somehow he understands, and he'll hold you in his arms. God wants to hold you in his arms. Please let him hold you in his arms of love when nothing else could help. The love of Jesus, love lifted me. I want you to hold me, Jesus. I need you to hold me in your arms of love. The great Nancy Wilson.
Thank you, Lindsay Edner. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you both, Valencia Edner and Ursula Merritt Bird, for outstanding performances and presentations. 2 poems before we go. I Too by Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. And Heritage by County Cullen. What is Africa to me? Copper sun or scarlet sea? Jungle star or jungle track? Strong bronze men or regal black? Women from whom loins I sprang when the birds of Eden sang. 3 centuries removed from the scenes his father loved. Spicy groves, cinnamon trees. What is Africa to me? So I lie who all day long want no sound except the song, sung by wild barbaric birds, goading massive jungle herds, juggernauts of flesh that pass, trampling tall, defiant grass, where young forest lovers lie, plighting troth beneath the sky. So I lie who always hear, though I cram against my ear both my thumbs and keep them there, great drums throbbing through the air. So I lie whose fount of pride, dear distress and joy allied, is my somber flesh and skin, with the dark blood dammed within, like great pulsing tides of wine that I fear must burst the fine channels of the chafing net where they surge and foam and fret. Africa, a book one thumbs, listlessly till slumber comes. Unremembered are her bats, circling through the night her cats, crouching in the river reeds, stalking gentle flesh that feeds. By the river brink no more does the bugle-throated roar, cry that monarch claws have leapt from the scabbards where they slept. Silver snakes that once a year doff the lovely coats you wear. Seek no covert in your fear, lest a mortal eye should hear. What's your nakedness to me? Here no leprous flowers rear, fierce corollas in the air. Here no bodies sleek and wet, dripping mingled rain and sweat. Tread the savage measures of jungle boys and girls in love. What is last year's snow to me? Last year's anything, the tree. Budding yearly must forget how its past arose or set. Bow and blossom, flower, fruit, even what shy birds with mute. Wonder at her travail there, meekly labored in its hair. 3 centuries removed from the scenes his father loved. Spicy groves, cinnamon trees. What is Africa to me? So I lie who find no peace, night or day, nor slight release from the unremittent beat made by cruel padded feet, walking through my body's street. Up and down they go and back, treading out a jungle track. So I lie who never quite safely sleep from rain at night. I can never rest at all when the rain begins to fall. Like a soul gone mad with pain, I must match its weird refrain. Ever must I twist and squirm, writhing like a baited worm, while its primal measures drip through my body, crying, strip, doff this new exuberance, come and dance the lover's dance. In an old remembered way, rain works on me night and day. Quaint, outlandish, heathen gods, black men fashioned out of rods, clay and brittle bits of stone in a likeness like their own. My conversion came high priced. I belong to Jesus Christ, preacher of humility. Heathen gods are naught to me. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, so I make an idle boast. Jesus of the twice turned cheek, Lamb of God, although I speak, with my mouth thus in my heart, do I play a double part. Ever at thy glowing altar, must my heart grow sick and falter, wishing he I served were black, thinking then it would not lack precedent of pain to guide it, let who would or might deride it. Surely then this flesh would know, yours had borne a kindred woe. Lord, I fashioned dark gods too, daring even to give you dark despairing features where, crowned with dark rebellious hair, patience wavers just so much as mortal grief compels, while touches, quick and hot of anger rise to smitten cheeks and weary eyes. Lord, forgive me if my need sometimes shapes a human creed. All day long and all night through, one thing only must I do, quench my pride and cool my blood, lest I perish in the flood, lest a heathen ember set, timber that I thought was wet, burning like the driest flask, melting like the merest wax, lest the grave restore its dead, not yet has my heart or head in the least way realized. They and I are civilized. Thank you so much. What an outstanding Black History evening with the Love and Stuff community. Won't you give them all a great round of applause? I am so appreciative of all of those that have participated. Thank you so much. I hope that you will share this content. I know we had a few technical difficulties and we will probably edit those right on out and do a replay. And I hope that you will invite others to join in celebrating, as you've heard some of our presenters say, from January 1st through December 31st. It's Black History every day. And if the hue of your skin is darker, know that God blessed you not only with melanin, but with unique greatness that the world has always known and hopes that you are grabbing the baton to always show. Whether you're watching us on LinkedIn Live, on Facebook Live, on Twitch TV, or YouTube events, we want to thank you for joining us for the close of our Black History official celebration. And we hope that there was information and inspiration that you will carry forward into your life, because you are great, created in the great image of our God. and he intended for you to live a great life filled with his love and filled with love for yourself and the love of others. Join us on an extraordinary journey by clicking follow on the Love and Stuff page and join some extraordinary people who are just on a mission to increase the amount of love in this world, one person at a time. I hope that you will join us. I'm Marcus Holmes, and thank you for a great evening.